Hello, this video will take you through how to read a trumpet fingering chart and how to play the first 5 notes on your trumpet using the BandMate Chromatic Tuner app. Let's start by talking about how to read a fingering chart. For a trumpet fingering chart, there are 2 different ways that they can be written. One way is with circles, and another way is with numbers. Your lesson book uses circles, so we'll start with that. Because there are 3 valves on the trumpet, there are 3 circles on a fingering chart. A shaded in circle indicates that you are pressing a valve down, and an unshaded circle indicates that you are not pressing that valve down. When all 3 valves are unshaded like this, that means that you would not push any of the 3 valves down. That's called open. The first valve, which is for your pointer finger, is going to be the farthest circle to the left. The middle valve will be in the middle, and the third valve will be the farthest to the right. So 1, 2, 3. If the fingering chart is written in numbers, like you may see at some point, the numbers indicate which valves you are pressing. If the number is 0, don't push any valves down. If the number says 1, like this one, press the first valve. If it says 2, push the second valve, or 3, push the third valve. If it has a combination of numbers, like this, 1, 2, push down the first and second valve, or 1, 3, push down the first and third valve, so on and so forth. In your lesson book, the first 5 notes are G, F, E, D, and C. In our last video, we talked briefly about C and G. Do you see in your lesson book on pages 4 and 5 that for those notes, the fingering chart indicates no valves are pressed down? Remember from the last video that C is open, no valves down, when we blow slower air and looser lips, and G is open when we blow faster air and tighter lips. Imagine that you have a candle in front of you and you're going to blow out that candle. When you're playing C, that candle is about a foot away from your face. When you're playing G, let's increase that distance to maybe 3 feet. The other 3 notes, F, E, and D, are somewhere in between the pitches of C and G. For our first 5 notes, C is the lowest, so that candle's going to be the closest. And for G, it's the highest, so it's going to be the farthest away. F, E, and D will be somewhere in the middle. Let's go ahead and check out the fingering charts for those first 5 notes. We already talked about C and G being open. Again, C is the lower pitch and G is the higher pitch, but no circles are shaded in, so no valves are pressed. The next note that you learn on exercise number 3 is F, and this is the fingering chart that you see for that. If you're thinking to yourself, let's press the first valve and not the other 2, that would be correct. You would have this fingering down for F. When we play F, it sounds like this. The next note that we have is E, where the first and second valves are pressed down and the third is not. So here is your fingering for E, here is the sound for E. The next note that we learn is D. The first and the third valve are pressed for D, and the second valve is not. Here is your fingering for D, and here's what it sounds like. Remember to use the free app called BandMate Chromatic Tuner for each of those notes to make sure that you're making the correct sound. Practice with that app on lesson book songs number 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. Work on maintaining those pitches for 4 full beats each. Good luck. A couple of things to watch out for. Make sure that your airstream is nice and steady. Don't have it go faster or slower while you're blowing. Just keep it the exact same speed the whole time and keep it under control. If you are blowing too slow, your pitches may register with the tuner a little bit low. For instance, if you're trying to play a D, but the tuner is showing a C, you might need to try using a little bit more air, making that air a little bit faster, or maybe tightening up those lips a little bit to make the opening in your mouth a little bit smaller. Let me show you what I mean. If I'm playing a D and I'm too loose or too relaxed here and my air's going too slow, instead of this sound, I might get this sound. Do you hear how that's not the same note? All I changed was the tightness of my lips and the speed of my air. So if it's registering too low on the tuner, picture that candle a little bit farther away and blow it out. Another thing to watch out for is to make sure that the corners of your mouth are nice and firm so that you're not puffing your cheeks. When I do that, I lose control of my sound. Practice looking in a mirror so that you can see what your cheeks are doing while you play. Thank you for watching. Keep working with that BandMate Chromatic Tuner app to build more and more control of your tone. Keep an eye out for our next video, which will cover how to oil your valves.